Hey, it's Zane, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in once again. I appreciate you being here. And in this video today, I thought I would address some of the common questions that are coming up for me, not just in the chat here on my channel below, but also in the one-on-one Zoom calls that I'm doing with many different people from all walks of life each week. And most people I talk to are looking forward to an early retirement or to secure their retirement. Most people have a 10 to 15 year time horizon that I talk to when it comes to being absolutely autonomous and financially free. That's what they're targeting. That resonates with me because I'm 52 and I'm targeting 10 years as the time frame for me to basically be living life absolutely on my terms at that point. And so all of this ties into a discussion around Bitcoin being the best performing asset on earth and how we can incorporate it into our financial future and retirement plans. And so people want to know, how much Bitcoin do I need in order to retire comfortably and to sustain myself for the rest of my life so that I never have to worry about money again? And I think that's a really great goal. And, I just try to coach people through that, keep things nice and simple. Everybody's situation is different. I talk to people who are just allocating what they can personally. Some people are dollar cost averaging. Some have already acquired a significant amount of Bitcoin and just looking to, kind of get to the next level with that, level up their security so they can sleep soundly at night knowing everything is protected. Others are looking to roll over their industry superannuation funds or even their 401ks that they know are underperforming, and they know that if they keep all of their life savings parked in those vehicles that are only generating, historically 7 to 8%, and we know that true inflation is, more like 13 to 15% when you take into account money printing, currency debasement, many are looking to roll over their superannuation funds, retirement accounts, and put them into a self-managed super fund so that they are in control, and then they can, of course, acquire Bitcoin and get it into self-custody so that they are autonomously in control. Yes, they still have to follow by the rules of SMSFs and all of that, but if you're in complete control of your wealth and it's not entrusted to third parties, counterparties, it is permissionless. And so you just have to keep that in mind. And this is why many people are now very, very quickly moving towards SMSFs as a way to protect and preserve their long-term wealth, their retirement savings. So I've always said that if you can get to 0.1 of a Bitcoin and you have a 15-year time horizon, then I believe you'll never have to worry about money again. And the reason for that is because we know that Bitcoin's CAGR, compound annual growth rate, for the past decade has been hovering around 59%. Of course, as a comparison, we know that every other asset on earth has been generating 7 to 8%. So Bitcoin is performing 8 to 9 times everything else. We don't know what the future holds, but I believe that it's a very, very safe bet now when it comes to Bitcoin. We've crossed the chasm, and the prospect of Bitcoin failing or going to zero now, I believe, is off the table. I'm not the only one saying this. Peter Dunworth is on there on every video that he does on YouTube and all the big podcasts saying exactly the same thing. The fact that the US government now is on board and endorsing Bitcoin and telegraphing that they are going to acquire Bitcoin at a rapid rate onto their strategic Bitcoin reserve. The ETF was issued by the SEC last year so that the likes of BlackRock could now recommend Bitcoin to their clients through the Bitcoin proxy known as the exchange traded fund. All of these things indicate that Bitcoin is here to stay in my mind. And so when it comes to retirement and our life savings and preserving and not only just preserving but growing everything that we've worked so hard to accumulate over several decades, I think Bitcoin has to be a big part of the conversation. And this is why I believe that anybody who has a 10 to 15 year time horizon should be allocating as much as they can to Bitcoin. Now, 0.1 is 10% of a Bitcoin. 10% of a Bitcoin is 10 million Satoshis. There are many out there who believe that if not in our lifetime, certainly in our kids' lifetime, we're going to have dollar Satoshi parity. Now, the only way you can start to get your head around how that could be possible is when you begin to understand that Bitcoin has no top because fiat currencies have no bottom. They're going to continue to inflate fiat currencies. They're going to continue to debase the US dollar, Australian dollar, the euro around the world. And as that happens, more and more capital is going to find its way into the scarcest asset that exists, which is Bitcoin. And so when you have that frame of reference, it's a lot easier to rationalize that over time, Bitcoin is just going to continue to extract and absorb premium and economic value from all of these other asset classes, and certainly from the infinite currencies. And we're already seeing that, and this is why Bitcoin is repricing every other asset. You only need to price your home 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago in Bitcoin at what Bitcoin was at that particular point, and then price it in Bitcoin today. And what you'll see is that the price of your home is falling rapidly when priced in the hardest form of money. And so when I started to do this, it was the light bulb moment for me where I had to really think seriously about somebody who's always been into real estate like I have been. I need to change my tune here. I need to go all in on Bitcoin. And the reason for that is because of what it's doing, the way that it's eating real estate and every other asset. I digress. 0.1, if you have a 15-year time horizon at 50% CAGR, not 59 as it's done in the last decade. Let's assume that it's going to level out a little bit. I actually think it's going to be more than 59, but let's just say for the sake of discussion, 50% is what it performs at over the next 15 years. You're going to have 4.2 to 4.5 million US dollars, which is around 7.5 million Australian dollars. And I know that we have to account for inflation, but even after doing that, you're going to be infinitely better off with a nest egg like that in 15 years than if you leave your capital in an underperforming industry super fund. And the reality is that superannuation in this country, ASFA, the Australian Superannuation Fund Association, they actually put out figures, and their latest figures show that the average cost of living for people who want to live comfortably in retirement, so people who reach retirement age, which has recently gone from 65 to 67, they have basically put out statistics that indicate that for a single person, it's $51,000 a year, and for a couple, it's $73,000 a year. And so when we know that the average superannuation balance of people on the cusp of retirement in this country as of 2024 is averaging $300,000 to $400,000, you don't have to be Einstein to work out that most people are going to run out of money well before they run out of life. And this is going to mean that many people are going to be absolutely dependent on the meager age pension. And, if you believe that UBI is coming, Universal Basic Income, which is a function of central bank digital currencies, where we move towards socialism, where everybody who can't afford to take care of themselves or is not self-sovereign and financially autonomous, they're going to be very much dependent on the centralized surveillance money system. And pensioners will be the top layer of that. And so, they're going to have to go in for all of their shots as required, otherwise they won't get their pension. There's going to be all these rules and regulations about what you can and can't do in order to receive your money. That's what central bank digital currencies do. They're an extra layer of control in our financial lives. Most people have no idea about this, but we have to keep this in mind. This is where things are going. We know that they want to tax unrealized gains in superannuation. This should be a wake-up call for you as well. So I've said that 0.1 if you've got 15 years, if you've got 10 years, Chili's here, if you've got 10 years, you're probably going to need more like half to one Bitcoin. But if you've got, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 sitting in superannuation that you've accumulated over 30 years, then acquiring a whole Bitcoin shouldn't be too much trouble. And particularly if you've got a spouse or partner and you're looking to set up a joint self-managed superannuation fund, which of course many married couples do. And so, just keep that in mind. It's not out of the realm of possibility for most people to get to half to one Bitcoin if you really put your mind to it and you've got access to capital. You're able to roll over your superannuation fund and you have a 10-year time horizon, because if you've got that and you can get to 0.5 to 1 Bitcoin, you're going to be fine. You're going to have that $3, $4, $5 million sitting there in 10 years. And so this is kind of where we are now, but this opportunity, I'm absolutely adamant, is not going to last. And the reason for that is because we have so many tailwinds now that are going to really push Bitcoin's price out of reach for most people. And this is why we won't be talking about Bitcoin in the next, year or so. We're going to be talking about Satoshis. Everything is going to be priced in Satoshis, and people are going to be thinking about, how do I acquire 1 million sats or 10 million sats rather than how do I acquire one whole Bitcoin. So depending on your time horizon, if you've got 15 years, I would say a minimum of 0.1, 10% of a Bitcoin. If you've got 10 years, I would say half to one Bitcoin would be a baseline, and that's really a target that you have to go for. Now, we don't know that Bitcoin is going to continue to perform at 50 to 59%. I believe that it's going to actually do better than that because of where we are on the adoption curve and the pools of capital that are going to drive Bitcoin's price. Some believe, like Michael Saylor, he believes that over the next 20 years, Bitcoin's compound annual growth rate is going to average out to around about 30%. But even if you put 30% over a 15-year time horizon in the reverse Kager calculator, you'll see that what you need to allocate now to it is not outside the realm of possibility if you really put your mind to it. So that's question number one. It depends on your time horizon. Question number two is, what about ETFs? What about ETFs, exchange traded funds? We know that there's the monochrome ETF here in Australia that gives Australians exposure to Bitcoin in their investment funds, retirement accounts. People want to know what I think about ETFs. To be honest with you, I think that if you're used to entrusting a financial advisor or a financial planner to take care of your finances for you, and this is your only way of getting exposure to Bitcoin because you're not prepared to do the work, maybe you're too lazy to learn about what Bitcoin represents, because number go up is just part A. Part B is to understand that Bitcoin is absolutely sovereign money. It's a way to protect your wealth when you do it properly in self-custody. And so if all you're interested in is growing your portfolio, that's fine. Go for an ETF, but just realize that you're not self-sovereign. You are not detached from the system. And so, I would simply say to you, is that what you want in the environment that we're in? You really have to think about that. Like I said, if all you want is number go up and you're happy to entrust the system to take care of your finances and you want everything centralized, go for your life. But for me, self-sovereignty is every bit as important. And so, of course, you can't get that with ETF because you've still got counterparty risk associated with ETFs. With Bitcoin, when you take it into self-custody, you are the head of security of your own financial life, of your own bank. And so it's a very different dynamic when you are the one that actually owns that asset. So I would just say, am I a fan of ETFs? No, I'm not personally. But if it is your only avenue for getting exposure to Bitcoin, because for whatever reason you don't want to put in the time to do it the way it should be done, then by all means go ahead and do that. The third question I get regularly is obviously about self-custody. A lot of people are storing their Bitcoin on setups that are not sufficiently secure, in my opinion. And I really tell people that you really need to focus on three key attributes or features when you're looking at hardware wallets to put your Bitcoin off exchanges, off brokerages, into cold storage. Number one, you really want to be looking at an air-gapped device, one that is separate from the internet. Typically they run on QR code where the device has a little camera. Generally talks to an application either on your desktop or on your mobile app on your iPhone. And so every time you go to send Bitcoin, you actually need that air-gapped device through the camera, the QR camera, to verify a transaction in order for you to send value, to send Satoshis or Bitcoin to another address. You don't actually need the device to receive Bitcoin. You can simply use the application on your desktop or on your phone to receive Bitcoin. So if all you're doing is accumulating, sending Bitcoin from the exchange or from the brokerage to your hardware wallet, you don't need the device for that. Once the device is set up, you can essentially put it in a safe or a drawer. It's generally protected by a PIN code, so even if somebody finds the device, they can't access your Bitcoin. Then there's other layers of security behind that, such as the seed phrase, which is your private key, and also a passphrase, which is a 13th or a 25th word that is required even if somebody finds your seed phrase or private key. So there's many layers to this when it comes to security. It's not hard, it's not confusing, it's just a few simple steps. You just need to learn the basic skills. You need to make sure you get your hands on the right device, air-gapped, open source, which means the code is completely verifiable on chain. Particularly if you're running your own node, you can see all of that. And then the third step, of course, is to make sure that it is a Bitcoin only device, because when you have a device that supports the myriad of other cryptocurrencies out there, you're really leaving yourself open to potential hacks, malware, different threats. The surface of attack risk associated with that device is far greater than when you only have a Bitcoin only device. So I hope that makes sense for you. You know, how much Bitcoin do you need? You can answer that. Get the reverse Kager calculator out. Look at your time horizon, 10 or 15 years. 0.1 would be the starting point. Number two is ETFs. I'm not a fan of it, but if it's your only way of exposing yourself to Bitcoin, by all means go for it. But I would say to you, start doing some study, some work, learning about what Bitcoin really is, and start moving in a direction where you can actually become self-sovereign. And then thirdly, just make sure you do the right things when it comes to Bitcoin security, and that starts with getting yourself the right hardware device. There are more layers to this. I don't want to overwhelm you in today's video, but by all means, if you'd like to book a call with me, I'm happy to answer any questions you've got and to talk you through it and to make sure that you don't make any mistakes and that you do everything the way that it's meant to be done. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you got some value from today's video. Please leave a comment below, share your thoughts. I'll read all the comments. I appreciate those. Other than that, please like, share and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a great day. This is Zane signing out. Bye for now.